Good afternoon, everyone, and I welcome you all on the panel discussion of the future of tourism in India. Please allow me to say a few words about our moderator, Mr. Amaresh Tiwari. Mr. Tiwari is the Vice Chairman of India Convention Promotion Bureau and Director and Board Member, FAITH. He has done his post-graduation in Commerce and a professional master's degree in tourism. He is the Managing Director of 80 Seasons and Vacations Private Limited and CEO of Meetings and Incentives World. Mr. Tiwari has traveled extensively all over the world and is specializing in execution of corporate meetings and incentives, association, conferences, and exhibitions. Mr. Tiwari is pioneer in organizing management development programs, leadership development programs, and team building programs in India. He devotes a large amount of his activity to the cause of various associations in travel and tourism and has contributed a lot to the growth of tourism in India and world over. Over to you, Mr. Tiwari.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for this opportunity and getting such a beautiful session, which is directly related to all of us. That is the future of tourism in India, the domestic tourism economy, promotion, challenges, and possible solution. It won't be business as usual when India reopens. We all agree to this. And how do you revive enthusiasm and build confidence in the mind of travelers to Indian tourism side? This session will also look at how can the government and industry work together to create a synergy for conducive growth of tourism industry in India. I'm having a great panelist, Mrs. Jyoti Mayal. Mrs. Jyoti Mayal is a well-known face in the industry and she is the president TAI and one of the leading leaders in the tourism industry. We are having Professor Dr. Ramesh C. Gaur. He is a Dean and Director in the Gandhi National Center for Art and he is a well for his work in the area. And we are having Mr. Yuvraj Padole. He's the Deputy Director Events and Marketing in Madhya Pradesh Tourism. And Madhya Pradesh Tourism, as you all know, the way they are doing their marketing and promotion and getting the brand value is well known to everyone. So I'm very lucky to have such extreme panelists. So before we move to, because our domestic tourism, what we are talking, so let's talk about something, what exactly the tourism status in India pre-COVID. So when we talk about the foreign tourist arrival, that is inbound, so we had during 2019, basically 10.89 million tourists come to India, which was having a growth of 3.2% on year-on-year basis. And during 2019, we issued 2.93 million foreign tourist visa, that is e-tourist visa. And the growth is 23.6%. That's so key. E-tourist visa, the concept which created by India, and e-paper visa, that is growing very fast and future will be with paperless travel. When we talk about the foreign exchange earning, so during the 2019, we had around 2,10,981 crores foreign exchange earning with 8.3% growth rate. So in terms of the billions, so we can say roughly around 30 billion US dollar we had the foreign exchange earning. But when it comes to the international departures, so that is the outbound, so number of Indian national departures from India during 2018, I got the data that was 26.3 million, and as compared to the previous year, 23.94 million. So we are having a huge growth rate of 9.8% in the outbound. So this is the scenario of inbound and outbound. But when we are talking to the domestic tourism, which is the theme of our session, domestic tourism is a very important contributor to the sector. In fact, this is the bloodline of our tourism growth rate. As per the data, 1,854.93 million domestic tourists visit all over the country during the year 2019. Then government created Dekho Apna Desh is changing the future of tourism by creating new innovative ways to increase its own people interest to explore their country, home country. Traveling local is not only an easier option during a pandemic, it is also more sustainable travel mode and often more affordable as well. So you have seen the growth in the domestic tourism, which is very phenomenal, and this rising continuously. So this form of stay vacation and leading to the partial recovery. And if you see the wellness, nature holidays, back to root, rural tourism, short road trips to the hill stations in and around the urban cities, this become a preferred choice for the traveler. And domestic travel continue to be big driver till the summer of 2022. That is my opinion. And what are the few factors which is contributed for the domestic tourism? One is the Swadesh Darshan. Since the inception of the scheme, total 76 projects have been sanctioned with the 5,684 crore rupees sanctioned for the Swadesh Darshan scheme. And you will glad to know that out of this 4,278.88 crore has been released to the various states. So that's the big boost. Then the government has come up with another scheme called Prasad, the National Mission on Pilgrimage, Rejuvenation and Spiritual Augmentation Drive. That is, the Prasad has been launched by the Ministry of Tourism to all the states and UTs. And since its launch, around 622 crore has been released against the budget allocation of 1,160 crore. So that's another boost for the domestic tourism. Then in the 2021 budget, government has come a 5-year plan for the iconic tourist site, where 19 tourist destinations have been identified to develop under this scheme. And 5,109 crore for the period of this 5 year has been allocated by the government. Not to miss out, that is the skill development, which is a huge segment. And skill development, 81.1 million, including Indians, accounting around 12.38% of total workforce is in the tourism sector. And demand is very high. So we are going to cover all these areas, how this is going to happen. And according to UNWTO, this is the worst crisis international tourism has faced since 1950, when the data start getting collected. And Jyotiji, what are the lessons learned, toughest years for the?
Okay, thank you, Amreshji. Thank you. Your voice is cracking. Let's just going on and coming in.
Hello.
Yeah, now it's better. But I think I've understood your question, because I think you said the toughest years of the tourism industry. So yes. Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone here, and like to thank Infocom for actually organizing this.
Last 2 years are the toughest period for the tourism industry. So
yeah, sure. So thank you once again, and thank you Infocom, and thank you Amreshji for taking this forward. We and you and me collectively have been working very hard through the Faith platform to get a lot of things done, and we've seen a lot of challenges come in. One thing I'll comment before you, on your comments, you said, what have we really learned? I think our largest and biggest learning is being Atmanirbhar. I think that's something which the Prime Minister has really truly taught us. And that's what we need to be going forward, not seeing any respite, rebates, reliefs from any center in a big way as an industry. But going forward, like I've always said, we are a very resilient industry. We are an industry which has always stood by itself. We've come out of many, many challenges in life. But yes, these last 2 years have been very challenging indeed, much more than we've ever seen in our life, and I hope we never do. So I'm going to address from the perspective of both tourists and the travel fraternity that what are the toughest years. From a tourist perspective, I would like to say that as a face of the travel fraternity, we have learned that one's happiness is attached to both primary and secondary offers, because that is the only guarantee for satisfying them and their specific requests, needs, and preferences. Also, there's a need to take into consideration the fact that the satisfaction of the tourist needs post-pandemic can only be addressed with more individual services, keeping in mind the conditions that suit the tourist destinations like you spoke about. And India is a plethora. We have innumerable opportunities which we need to take into consideration as long as we keep this in mind. Therefore, my advice is that we should prefer to do holistic research about the interest of the travelers and probe on how they really gauge the purpose of the visit, and then come up with the packages, services all required, since the strategy has been a game changer for the travel industry, especially in the last year. We are advising members, fraternity to follow the same. From a travel agent's perspective, I would like to say that unlike other businesses or sectors, the market which we cater to can only be experienced, and based on that, opinions can be formed. The issues which we are facing is that until and unless a traveler does not experience those services provided, they don't know the quality of the same. Therefore, our aim and objectives are to show how well prepared our industry is to welcome them and offer hygiene, safe travel, and especially after the post-pandemic, what we are talking about. And the need of the hour as well, I think, is having medical facilities on board and how we can take this forward. Because India tourism, to an extent, has lost its charm, and especially with the delay on the e-visas, which is perpetual. I think it can only be regained and attained by focusing on addressing these concerns. The government of India has been doing whatever best they think they could do, but I think it's the industry that has to move forward, and we need to create coordination and collaboration with each other, which is going to be playing a very important role to take this industry forward. Could it be any tourism? And I do not think domestic happens without inbound, or inbound happens without outbound, because I think it's a huge value chain, and that's the only way economy of a country can be driven. Thank you, Amrishi.
Thank you, Jyoti. My next question to Yuvrajji. Yuvrajji, out of 140 countries, India ranked 8th on cultural resources on business travel, and 13th on the price competitiveness, and 14th on the natural resources in World Economic Forum's competitiveness index 2019. But despite this super ranking in overall tourism competitiveness ranks assets embedded to our heritage and culture to the full potential, as other countries has done. In our past lies our future. This is about reimagining tourism India and territory. So, Yuvrajji, how do you think where government is lacking, or what the road ahead in terms of marketing India as the next future opportunity in tourism? Over to you, Yuvrajji.
Thank you, Amreshji. Thank you very much, Infocom, for providing us the opportunity to come and share our thoughts on this platform. Yes, you are very right. And as Jyoti Madam has initiated the talks, it is indeed a great opportunity for states like us and collectively for India tourism to restart or reconnect or reinvent, because whatever we have done, I feel whatever we have done in past, what our efforts and the planning and schemes we have started earlier, now we have to rethink all those things, and we have to restart in a different manner, because we all know that pandemic has changed everything. Pandemic has changed the perspective towards tourism. Pandemic has changed the travel trends. Now we have to act according to the demand now, and the demand is coming to not only to give a different kind of experiences to the tourists, as Jyoti Madam has said rightly. These things have to be supported with many things like government schemes, states government, central government, and also the suppliers, the tourism service providers. They all have to come together and provide the services which are up to the mark, which are quality services, including better care for security, safety, hygiene, and all these things. As we know that this pandemic has also taught us how to now react to certain services and facilities. Now people are asking us, they're not very fussy about the accommodation part and other things, but they want to know what are the things we can do there. So activity part is more important now from the tourism perspective, tourist perspective. So I feel, sir, that the government is doing their work, and they have different schemes, as you have said, Dekho Apna Desh and Prasad scheme, Swadesh Darshan scheme. These are the schemes, and they are going on a right direction. But also, from the tourist's point of view, we have to know that the things and the services and the facilities we are going to provide to them should be up to the mark and should be changed according to the demand. And as I said, Madhya Pradesh, if I talk about my state, Madhya Pradesh is really bestowed with everything. We are a versatile state. And here in our state, sir, I can assure you that we are trying to reinvent things. We are trying to redevelop things as per the needs and requirements of the tourists. And we know that the demand is now shifting towards from mere sightseeing to activity-filled holidays. So to say that synthetic to an authentic experience is now in the demand. Sir.
Thank you, Raji. Professor Gaur, you being one of the major custodian for art and culture and heritage in India, as you know, tourism is state subject in India still. It's not in the concurrent list, not a recognized industry, and tourism still have their challenges still going on. So what you think what should be the step taken by India to enhance its competitiveness and position even India within the India when the states position themselves as a key tourist destination? We have seen that not people are going much to the monuments or the heritage or cultural or museum. How can engage this inclusiveness and develop the tourism within the country in a more professional way like the US is done? Professor Gaur, over to you.
Thank you, Amreshji, and thank you, Infocom. It's a very important and pertinent question because you all are expert on tourism. We'll talk about that. Being a person from culture and technology, I would like to bring two, 3 points which are very important. The first point is that like we have different uh, types of tourists, maybe pilgrimage or dealing with the scenic splendor or historical monuments and other things. I think the problem I see that we work in isolation. We have to see culture and tourism as the together. And in this direction, I think I see lack of coordinated efforts because when a person goes to a particular place, he's just not interested in the place or monuments. He or she is also interested in various kind of the art and craft and the basic historical historicity of that particular place. So in this regard, I have few suggestions. I think one suggestion is that I think in terms of promoting tourism, art and culture and historical places, we lack use of technology. Uh, we don't have enough material to put on internet to attract the tourists. Like we are lacking use of this VR, AR or immersive technologies to make virtualization. Like if you use 4D technology and create some virtual images of all those historical places and attract the people, because once they see something, they feel attracted. So somewhere I think that's the one area. Second area which I feel is that I think we lack proper connectivity. Give you an example. Take example in terms of pilgrimage on Buddhism. UP and Bihar are the two places which have a lot of place connected with the Buddhism. It may be Sarnath or Kushinagar or various places. So we need to develop some kind of corridor that person who is interested in a pilgrimage in Buddhism, he or she can be well connected with the kind of information and also a kind of travel plans. So it is easier for that person to visit those places. Similarly, now we are talking about Ayodhya to develop a very important places. So on theme-based pilgrimage, it may be like we have done wonderful work in Amarnath and Vaishno Devi, but I think similar kind of work need to be repeated. And another important area, as a person from culture, I tourism culture need more coordinated efforts. Like we have been doing culture mapping, and I also believe along the cultural mapping, we need to do some kind of broad mapping, which also include not just art and craft and culture, but it also includes such uh, historical places, monuments. So when we see a mapping, cultural mapping of India, it doesn't talk about just art and craft. It should also talk about various historical places. And I think use of technology in terms of having a proper databases, and also I think some kind of culture also need to be created in our starting from our families. Like we should feel pride. Give you an example. Like if I have to compare my visit to Malaysia and visit to Kerala, I and my family enjoyed more in Kerala when I was on tour in that scenic beauty and the kind of so that kind of I think awareness that we have plenty or enough tourist places in India which are far better than the other countries. That kind of information is also lacking, and also like those kind of fashion statement visiting abroad for vacation. I'm not against that, but I think like many people who have not seen the most of India, if they visit some other countries that is something because of lack of information and lack of proper awareness about the kind of opportunities available in this country. So I really believe that we need some more coordinated efforts from culture and tourism together, and lot of use of technology need to be, and even some kind of like Jyoti ji has already talked about taking various measures for confidence building. All our state of shock. We are still not recovered from that particular pandemic. So that confidence building exercise is also, it's a responsibility of all stakeholders. So these are the few thoughts to start with, but definitely I will get back. I have some more idea to share later. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gaur. And as FAPE has estimated around 15 lakh crore impact to the economy on direct and indirect basis. And Jyoti ji, as you are aware of, there are lots of business and job losses in the tourism industry over the year. If you can just brief around that. And secondly, if you can advise us how domestic tourism can help us to sustain and revive the tourism industry. Jyoti ji.
Thank you, Amrish ji. It's wonderful hearing everyone. But yes, you know, these are the topics we've been discussing from the day one, since the day COVID started. And I think it's taken us 1 year, nearly more than 1 year and 6 months to actually not even go zero down on anything. And we all know that COVID-19 pandemic was a harrowing experience for the entire tourism industry. Now, nearly 9 months into 2021, we are still finding out the extent and the full damage of it. The latest end of year totals from Tourism Economics paint a very grim picture of job losses in 2020, with the final numbers literally revealing that the travel industry shrank by 42% last year, and travel related jobs fell by 5.6 million. This huge loss represents literally like $1.1 trillion globally. And it really is unclear whether the travel demand will be fully able to rebound on its own. And India, like you said, at FATE, we did estimate 150 lakh crore, and literally 4 crore loss of jobs directly and indirectly. Why I'm saying this is difficult to gauge, because apart from business falling under the category of tourism, there are a number of people engaged from allied sectors from the entire travel, tourism, and hospitality, which is a huge value chain again. Either they are suppliers or manufacturers, etc., who have been always dependent on tourism sector since ages. And I believe we can only gauge the devastation once the sector fully recovers and we are back on track, you know, which will take us, I think, not less than 2 to 3 years. So how do you think that the tourism sector can be revived? Amrish, did you ask that question? Because again, your voice faded away.
That's right.
So I think there are a lot of things, you know, how we can retain this domestic tourism especially. And I heard Madhya Pradesh tourism speak. I heard the professor's voice speak. You know, we as a country actually are into a rat race, I believe. Firstly, for domestic tourism also, I just feel that the states which are active start getting active into all spectrums of tourism, not really trying to take out the USP of their own state. India is a huge country, which I've always said, and we've got everything, like Professor just said, we have heritage culture, which really needs to be looked into, but people have diverse effects. People have diverse hobbies, they have diverse interests, and they want to travel that way. But why do all states get into the same of adventure, the same of, creating the same, spectra of services all over? I think we've got different foods, we've got different culture, we've got different festivals in every state. That's how we should build up India to show one India. And that is one way which I've been telling. I was recently, Mr. Yuvraj knows that I was with the Principal Secretary in Madhya Pradesh. And I must put this on this platform here, that Madhya Pradesh tourism is one of the most innovative state which I've seen in developing tourism. And they are always very friendly. They are very, very futuristic to think about things. But there also I realized that, we need to grow a lot more. So we need to handhold our agents into communicating. You said initially, Dekho Apna Desh. Yes, Dekho Apna Desh is a beautiful platform so that, people can understand what our Desh is. But are we teaching the agents, or are we teaching our staff how to sell this Dekho Apna Desh? We've been telling the Ministry of Tourism now since 3 months, let's start a module of Sikho Apna Desh. How do the agents really start selling? But, it is very sad to say that we do things in bits and parts, and we do not reach the end, So it is very difficult for tourism and the agents to take it forward without really investing in it. And the government needs to be there to form policies. Rest, I'm sure we are a very strong industry to take it forward with all our associations. And that is the only way we will be able to develop. Of course, we need a lot of marketing and we'll need a lot of other things, which I'm sure you will ask me more questions, which I need to answer. But I think marketing is going to be playing a very, very important role, which needs, and it's a need of the hour, because you just cannot be out of news. No news is absolutely you are dead. So you have to be in news all the time to do marketing of your own country, which somehow we forget.
Thank you, Jyoti. As we all know, tourism was the first sector hit by the pandemic and will be the last to recover. While domestic tourism shows green shoots of recovery with the emergence of revenge travels. We all heard the word of revenge travel, where a large number of people are traveling to the destination, especially with the nature-based destination. And Yuvrajji, Madhya Pradesh being covering 27% of entire land as a green belt. And lots of tourists are going all across the states. So how you think you prepare yourself and sanitize the tourist which is coming, as Jyoti ji rightly saying, instead of dekho apna desh, sikho also apna desh, the mannerism in how the responsible tourism happen. So this revenge travel, when the numbers are going in a very large number, how you managing it, and what are the precautions needed to boost this domestic tourism? So Yuvraj ji.
Sir, I fully agree with what Jyoti madam has said, and it is 100% applicable to all the states, including Madhya Pradesh. And as everyone knows, Madhya Pradesh is heart of incredible India. It is not only to say, but we are. So we are the tiger state of India. We are the leopard state of India, and now we are the Ghadial state of India. So there are so many unique things which one can find in Madhya Pradesh only. So if we talk about the diversification of the tourism trends, or if we talk about the different choices of the tourists who come to visit to visit any state for that matter, they come and they come with a purpose that yes, they are going to a place which is not overcrowded, which is not a place where we have to see and fight for the space, but they come to Madhya Pradesh for many reasons, and prominent reasons out of them are because we have, as you said, we are a green state, we are a pollution-free state. More than 25% of the land area is covered by the forests. So, and wildlife tourism is the strongest tourism product of Madhya Pradesh. So now people are coming to Madhya Pradesh to see and to enjoy all these tourist attractions. Recently, what we have done in Madhya Pradesh is we have developed a wellness and mindful tourism to all these places. This is something different with the therapy kind of a wellness or any kind of Ayurveda or this thing. But we bring people and we tell them just to detox, just to de-stress. If you go to the lap of the nature, you automatically feel that you are rejuvenated. You feel that you are charged. You feel that you have fresh oxygen and you are now ready to work. Whatever work you are involved in, you are ready to work with the double energy. People are coming to experience Madhya Pradesh because of its rural richness. They go to the countryside, they go to the villages, and that's how we are developing our rural tourism in Madhya Pradesh. We are also developing our tribal tourism in Madhya Pradesh. We now are trying to showcase tourists, our countryside, our people, because it's a demand. As I said, we are creating a demand towards all these tourism products in which people will go and experience the authenticity of that place. People want to live with them. We have developed homestays, we have developed farm stays, and now people are coming and they want to work there. This is the beauty of the tourism, that people don't just want to come and stay. They don't just want to come and go for sightseeing, but they are coming now with an intention that they will get an opportunity to work with the villagers. Like they want to now learn how to milk a cow. They want to know how people can take up a plow in the field. They want to go and see what exactly is they are sowing in the field. So there are many aspects. People, there are very interesting things. Some foreigner tourists, they wanted to come and stay in a family who has the cattle or goats. So there are different kind of perception of the people, different interests of the people, and different intentions. And as Jyoti Madam has rightly said, we have to follow our unique things. We have to follow our unique features which we have. Like Madhya Pradesh is also known for its heritage, culture, food, music, arts and crafts, everything we have. Now we are developing one by one to all these things. We have also started uh, creating an event calendar for Madhya Pradesh, in which every month in the year when you come to Madhya Pradesh, you have something or the other happening in the state. We have created some good events like Orcha Festival, Mandu Festival. Now we are going to have some more with the available budgets and all, like Gandhi Sagar Festival, Floating Festival. So these are the things which attract tourists. They not only come and enjoy these festivals, but they also interact with the local people, and that's how we are creating employment in the local community. We have taken them with us, their involvement, their ownership, and at the same time the employment generation for the local community. And that is the key of the success of sustainable tourism, we feel. And responsible tourism, sustainable tourism, all these things are going on. One more important thing is skill development. So we have adopted a system in which we provide the skill set to the young people of the destination, just to avoid the migration from the place and just to involve them in main and the hardcore activity of tourism at different places. Hunar se Rozgar tak. These are some schemes which are launched by the government, and we are getting good results out of it. And at one point of time, we feel that these things will be handed over slowly to the local community, and they will successfully run all these things. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Yuvrajji. And as we say, tourism industry, we have to handle lots of ministries and the lots of legislative compulsion. And so there is no one India, one tourism approach. So whenever we see the tourism, there is no one single approach. Even the COVID time, all the rules, regulation, restriction, guidelines were totally different, and tourists got lots of confusion and inconvenience. So in this seamless travel, what we are saying, the seamless travel experience for the domestic tourism, we need to standardize so that that become a seamless. It does not happen. So Professor Gaur, what is your expectation from the government for the tourism industry, especially in the domestic tourism industry? How we can create a tourism where we have the infrastructure and everything in place and standard basis all across India?
Amneshji, I think this is a very pertinent issue, and definitely some steps need to be taken. And first thing which I recommend, I'm not happy with having two ministries separately, tourism and culture, because both are very much interrelated in terms of tourism, and I think they complement each other. And working, there is a lot of issues in that, because there are some monuments part of ASI, which is part of Ministry of Culture, and tourism is looked after by the tourism ministry. So that coordination is maybe a problem. So that's the one suggestion, that we should have a single ministry which look after the entire tourism and culture, because India is a very diverse country with so many diverse cultural diversity. Second, I think, again, I'm very keen that I've traveled abroad, and I see that use of technology is very minimum in that. Like, take example, immediately after lockdown was over, there was a flood of tourists in all our major destinations in Himachal or in UP or hill station during the summer. We don't have any control mechanism to know how many people we can afford there and how many people can. So some kind of like, we have blessed with technology, which is very easy to restrict the number of visitors, and also to make people aware that you should not go to this place, it's already flooded, and nobody enjoy also. Like, as a tourist, I will not enjoy when I see so many people, and even the infrastructure is also not able to manage it. There are a lot of chaos and traffic jams, and so people are not enjoying it. They are just feeling frustrated. So I think that is another area where I think some kind of policies are needed and some technology. And again, I say that this mapping is very important. The lesser known tourist destination which we have not identified, that is the something we need to identify, because why I know personally, I know many friends personally, they prefer to live in a blaze somewhere 100 kilometers from Manali rather than in Manali, because they find that place in a house of a blaze rural house, they feel more comfortable and they feel more enjoyable. I think we need to be innovative, need to be creative to identify some lesser known destination. And the most important, which I feel, is that I think we lack proper uh, databases. The most of our website of our state tourism department, they even don't have basic minimum information. So somewhere I think public-private partnership is very, even industry has to come forward, because they are lot depend upon these policies and guidelines and those kind of why we allow bureaucracy to rule all those things, which is a part of our on culture and society, and which affect our livelihood. So I think somewhere we always complain that this is not happening, these are the issues. Like, we also need to take some lead and come out with a plan and suggestion. See, who is government? Government is consists of all of us. And if we go with some better plan and insist on that, no, this should be done. And many of our industry people can influence, like people like Jyotiji, they can take a lead in wherever we are lacking in terms of policies and guidelines. I think we should come out with a better plan. Definitely, a more coordinated efforts are required, and all those policies, maybe current pandemic or even otherwise also, like, given one comparison, we have a site Ajanta Ellora, and similarly there is a site in China, Dunhuang. Both same philosophy, same sites. These are the wall paintings, murals, and cape, and so all these. And see the difference between the way digital Dunhuang is entirely digitized, and each and every information is available. People world can assist, but we don't have that much information about Ajanta Ellora. So how people, and Ajanta Ellora is more bigger than what I have seen both the places, and our it's the oldest and also bigger than what because those Dunhuang site created get motivation from Ajanta Ellora only. So I think those kind of databases and other thing also need to be developed. And I again say, I think a lot of merging of these ministries in one, that government should think of it. It was, I think, earlier one, and also other policies and whatever issues related to state administration. We have an NIC network, and many of the things can be done through this particular NICNET, which is reaching out even rural areas, where those information can be shared in a much better manner.
Thank you, Professor Gaur. All nations are starting, right now they all are on ground zero level. And Jyoti, as you know, all the countries are very aggressive in terms of their marketing and get the maximum business session. And India is a huge market, 26 million tourists travel abroad. And in terms of getting the quality domestic travelers, and these 26.5 million are the quality domestic travelers, can be. So how can we retain this fast growing outbound market to convert some of them to the domestic market? Jyoti, what is your thought idea on this?
I think there are a lot of things that can be done, Amish, where there is incentivizing ourselves to give business to our own country. And I think you being in ICPB chair, I think that's the biggest, largest thing which you have also achieved. We've been able to get some good policies come in, at least, if not more. But I think we need to incentivize our own people to travel in our own country, because nothing is luring them. And the news that we see, like the professor was just saying, that we don't even know what the places are, how overcrowded they are, so there has to be a technology platform to share the entire thing so that we can build it up more for all the corporates and people wanting to do conferencing and and the growth of domestic tourism. Before I go into that, something which is in my mind when Professor said that private partnerships. I think private partnerships are the need of the hour. But somehow when you go, even as an association, to the government, and I'm saying this very loudly because I think I just don't like to keep my thoughts to myself, because unless I share my thoughts, how are they going to come out and people start, thinking about it? When you go to the government, even as an association saying that please do this, they feel there's an ulterior motive to it. They feel that, we are doing it with one association, we may not do it with the second association. Which association should we be doing it? What are this data? Why are they doing this? They don't even come forward to make the ease of business coming in. That is the partnership we need. It's not always about something where the finances are concerned. It's something about policies that need to be created with private partnerships, which somehow our government really lacks. Even when you talked about the unified policies, we kept telling the ministries that please consult us when you're opening states. Please consult us to see how to travel so that there is ease for the customer to travel. But it is not done. So I think those private partnerships, what we talk about, are only in the books. It doesn't happen when it comes to ground level. But coming back to your main question, that yes, the travel and tourism industry and the government should continue to reinforce their coordination mechanism to accompany the business, notably the smallest ones and the workers, because I think they are absolutely very important. And particular attention should also be given to the most sensitive, vulnerable destinations in the recovery phase, because that will be needed and not those overcrowded places. And India is such a huge country. All our states need to market for themselves. They need to market it for them independently and not come under only the India banner. We usually follow like I said earlier, that we usually follow a rat race and we follow it thoroughly. And we need to think out of the box to bring out the best aspects of each state and make it experiential for even our own. Because the window dressing, when you are traveling to any international destination, is very different from the window dressing of our country. So what is seen on media is the poor child who's naked and having something from the ground. He's having filthy background. I think all these things need to be changed. The marketing needs to be on to actually focus that India is a beautiful country. It's a safe country. It's a clean country. And, that's how we need to. And of course, like I've said, incentivization is going to be huge. We need to incentivize the MICE conferences, weddings, and most of the worst part is that all these rules and regulations are not even known to the agents. How do they offer it to the client is another aspect. So there has to be a lot of learnings that need to take into place. And, just assuming that we are all from the same trade, we know what we are talking about. I think we need to move beyond this and tell the government that, just please handhold us to educate the consumer, to educate the client, to educate the agency, how they can drive the best tourism opportunities. Because now, after post-COVID, the demographics are going to be totally changed. The protocols, crisis management is something all we need to look into, say that, hey, travel within India, invest in India. And of course, if we do it ourselves, I'm sure there'll be a huge interest for the inbound also to travel that way, because we will be our own ambassadors.
You are right, Jyoti. In fact, I belong to the MICE industry, and MICE segment post-COVID is expected to see a shift and moving away from the interpersonal interaction. But this segment has very quickly adopted the technology and moved to the hybrid events, like we are doing the virtual hybrid. And this all innovated by the major MICE player like the Suraj, Falcon, Mediafan, and so many other PCO, PO, DMCs they had done. So what we believe, this segment will undergo complete change, but we are expecting better days will come and eventually will lead to the recovery and have face-to-face interaction. And I'm throwing my last question to all the panelists. When we are talking about the domestic tourism versus other developed countries like USA, UK, Europe, China, Japan, which has a well-developed domestic tourism setup. So in terms of perception, in terms of destination choice, safety, sanitization, and overall appeal, where India you think is and what we need to do? Just one-liner answer from all before I'll pass on the mic to Suraj. Anyone can take up. Professor Gaur, you can start maybe.
So I think we have many advantages over all these countries. First, vaccination drive is very successful and done in a very good manner. And another important thing is that we have a huge market. Only thing we need to attract them, we need to guide them to choose destination in India. And that is very much possible by having some kind of awareness, by comparing like those hot destination, which like you mentioned that so many people go out of country for foreign tours. So we cannot stop the millionaires, but those middle class people who go to Southeast Asia or in this part of the region, at least we have similar better destination in India. Only thing, we need to connect them, we need to make them aware that within the less money you can enjoy more in within the country.
Thanks, Professor Gaur. Yuvraj, your thought on this?
Sir, I agree to Professor Gaur, but I would just like to add 2, 3 more points here, because first of all, we need to increase the size of the pie, so that everyone gets its share. For example, if a person is intending to go and enjoy the wildlife tourism, he has different choices, but obviously he will select the best one. So we have to come up as a best tourist destination. We have to increase all these things, as you said, the choice of destinations and many things which makes it a perfect choice for the tourists. Second thing, we cannot just stop people going abroad. We can't tell them not to go to any place out of India. But yes, at the same time, we encourage people, we encourage our agents from outside to bring people within, to bring people to India. So that way it will be an exchange. People from here will go to other countries, they will see the products here, and they will realize then in turn that, oh, in our country, we have far better places than this, which we are seeing here. And then next time they may be inclined and they will be motivated to come and visit places within the country. And secondly, we can bring more and more people to our country to showcase our tourism products, to showcase the unique things which we have in India, so that people, when they go back to their countries, they become a sort of brand ambassador for our tourism products and tell their friends and relatives. And in turn, they also come back to visit India. Yes, and as far as all these things are concerned, that cleanliness, hygiene, safety, security, vaccination, and all these things, they are in place. And we are happy that Madhya Pradesh is doing a great job in this. We have a very good tourism policy in which we are promoting stakeholders to come and invest in Madhya Pradesh. We have very good adventure tourism policy, film tourism policy. They are all in place. So we are trying our best to tell people that Madhya Pradesh is a better choice for all of them to come and have their holidays here. Also, just to add one more thing to answer the Professor Yadav, that Professor Gaur, that in Madhya Pradesh, as sir, you are rightly pointing out that tourism and culture ministry and things should be at one place. So we are really fortunate that we have our Principal Secretary Tourism, who is also Principal Secretary to Culture and Archaeology and Jan Sampark also. And our Minister, Honorable Usha Thakurji, she is having the charge of tourism and culture both. So we are in Madhya Pradesh, we are trying to come up and try to initiate these things. But yes, you are very right. We have to include so many more things in our efforts to make it a perfect destination, Madhya Pradesh. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Yuvrajji. Jyoti, last word in 1 minute. If you can wrap up before I'll go to the Surajji.
Yeah, so the last word which I would like to say, of course, everyone has said all, but I think to develop India as a huge destination for both inbound and outbound, we need a very coordination and collaboration with the government to work forward. And we were looking forward to it, and we are looking forward, especially after getting a cabinet status. And that was our demand to the PMO that this should happen. So we want that to happen so that the industry can work and the ease of business comes in once we become our own ambassadors and we have an ease of business. I am sure the millennials will travel our country more, and I'm sure inbound will grow. And we should learn from our past, because I think our mistakes that we have committed in not making India the largest hub. This is a time, because when we are starting from ground zero again, this is a time for us to rebuild India into a destination and rebuild on it to become the hub between the East and the West, not only for our own country, but even for our international travel. And I think that can be achieved. But of course, we need to collaborate, like I said, and they'll need to hear us out.
Thank you, Jyoti, for giving the very beautiful thought case, communication, collaboration, and coordination. And Surajji, over to you. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. I hope we be able to do some justice to the topic, which is very dear to our all heart. Over
Thank
to
you, Amrishi. What a great session this has been. I must thank all the esteemed panelists, Jyoti ma'am, Professor Gaur, Yuvraj, and of course you as the moderator. As Jyoti ma'am has said, it's time to start again from ground zero. We are working towards that, and I do hope tourism will flourish in India once again. I thank you all for being a part of this beautiful panel, and I request all the other delegates to kindly join our other sessions. Thank you, and I see you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you. God bless.
sir.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank
Namaskar.
you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Lovely
you,
connecting
madam.
with all of you.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
madam.
Bye. See you.